It's showtime. We are live and we are back in the building yet again. We've been gone for a little bit. I've missed you all. I have missed you all. And I'm back with some friends, some very special guests, and we're going to talk all things AI. We're going to talk all things explaining brains. We'll talk about that. But I'm thrilled to be back. If you're watching it, let us know where you're tuning in from. Please engage with us inside the chat. Let us know, how has your week been? You made it through. Did you have any tough IEP meetings? Did you do anything fun? Did you apply for any new jobs? Yo, I'm seeing so many open positions like everywhere. So this is kind of like a real thing. Um, I have been on the road traveling and then just got back from the second annual Black School Psychologists Network. We had our conference in Atlanta. And so, because of that, we put off this live FI. But I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to get back into all things school psych AI. And today, you all, we are going to have a conversation. We released our article earlier in the week about the practical uses of AI, the benefits, the time savings, and how we can actually utilize this thing. But before we dive in, I've been talking, like y'all see my face, and we have a familiar face, and then we also have a new face. So I'm gonna throw it over to Rachel to do some introductions for us.
Okay. So I'm Rachel. I'm a school psychologist practitioner in Missouri. I'm on these lives quite a bit, so I'm the familiar face. But I'm really excited to introduce probably a familiar face to all of you, Dr. Liz Angoff. I got to hear her speak at NASP in 2023, same with Dr. McClure. And so it's super, I don't know, fangirl moment that this is happening just like a little over a year later. So I'm really excited. She is the creator behind Explaining Brains and has so many resources that I've personally used in my buildings and in my district, in my conversations with students and with their families. So cool that you're here. And thank you for joining us, Dr. Liz.
Yeah, thank you. This is an exciting like full circle moment and coming back and reconnecting with all this new exciting stuff here.
Yeah. All right. So, because of all of our collaborations and things like that, it's just been so cool for me as well. And just to be, with both of you, you're both such amazing leaders in our field. And so it's really fun that we have this space to share and talk about the article and the infographic that we collaborated on together. And Dr. Liz, you really highlighted in one of our School Psych AI Facebook discussions, really the larger context of AI and how it relates to accessibility. And it really turned into this idea of, hey, we should probably put this idea and conceptualize it as an image. And then that spiraled into let's write an article together. And now here we are doing a live together. So really cool. I'm going to start us off by sharing the infographic that we're talking about. And while I'm doing that, I know we're streaming on a couple different platforms. If there's any comments, just let me know as I'm sharing my screen here. All right.
And look, y'all, please, I'm not seeing any comments or anything coming through in the chat as Rachel pulls that up. Like, talk to us. Where are you tuning in from? You all might hear my kids in the background because it's a Friday here and it's live in the background and it's live for this live at 5 as well. So let us know where you're tuning in from, if you're doing anything fun this weekend. And Rachel, I'll throw it right back over to you.
Okay. So I've got our infographic pulled up. This has been so fun to collaborate on, and to see it on our screen here is really cool. So this infographic and the article, they both outline this broader idea. So beyond time savings, but how we can really leverage AI for a variety of purposes. Students, families, us as psychologists, and then being able to advocate at that district and institutional level. I know that a lot of your work, Dr. Liz, is around students and kind of how we can better talk about how their brains work and things like that. I'm wondering if you can share your take on how AI can help with understanding and with the self-advocacy piece.
Yeah, so this is the really exciting piece about AI from where I'm standing. I mean, we've been talking about so many ways that AI can help make our jobs easier or kind of make things go faster. And I think that that is legit. And we'll talk about that at the higher levels of kind of preventing burnout. But what's been so striking is like how we can use these tools to really make things accessible to kids, accessible to families, and just to translate all of our jargon and the things that are hard for even us to understand sometimes, even between professionals at meetings, and make them like really rooted in the real world. And so for kids, like just starting at the kid level, AI is this creative force, right? It finds patterns, and it can take those patterns and put them together in new, innovative ways. And for kids, because every kid is so different, one of the things that got me on my path was that like it's every kid is so different that the tools that are out there that say like this is what ADHD means or this is what a learning disability is, it's like it kind of meets what my kid is presenting with, but not totally. And so this is the ultimate personalization tool. We can ask the AI to create personalized definitions of whatever the child's profile is, whether it has an official, name like ADHD, or if it's, kind of you have processing challenges and we don't really know what to call them yet, but we can still ask AI to help us come up with a way to explain that to kids. And then the kicker here is that now we can ask it to say like, okay, well, how could a second grader ask for more time, or what could they say to their teacher, or what are some things that they could share with the IEP team to help the IEP team understand. So we have ways of making it real for kids, and then ways of helping them to self-advocate, which is just a game changer out the gate.
I love that. Yeah, I've been dabbling with recommendations specific for students and self-advocacy, and I love that idea. And thinking about AI benefiting not just the practitioner, the person who's writing the report, but for the students as well. And then kind of going out to the next layer on families. Or Byron, did you want to say something? Did you unmute for a second?
Yes. So we're missing something that is super, super important here. And so when we like first envisioned this and started having our conversations, like, and this is the cool part about it, like the human element, like we have an idea and then we bring it into creation. And I remember the conversation being like, we have to create something that encompasses like Bronfman burners, like circle and theory, but like make it for AI. So, Dr. Liz, can you talk a little bit about like that conception and how we took Bronfman burners, ecological theory, and like made this into our own thing? I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh man. Okay. So, well, we're talking about, I think we were talking about how all this exists within community, right? I mean, we're trying to get these pieces to work together. And I mean, like so many of the things that we do, we're kind of in silos, that we do our thing as school psychologists and the speech therapist does that thing. And then parents are left kind of trying to integrate all of that stuff. But, we're here as part of a bigger system. And when we bring that kind of like system lens to what we're thinking about with AI, I think it really shifts the way we're thinking about it. Instead of this piecemeal kind of what can it do. We're thinking about how it could actually shift the whole system to think differently. Is that what you were thinking about, Byron? What else did we talk about then at the very
Yeah, I mean, I
beginning?
think that's major. And then the actual visual of it, that for me, it just puts me in that mind frame. And I don't know if Amber, shout out to Amber, if she's watching, she made a comment too. It's like, hey, that looks oddly familiar. And she shouted out Brian from Brenner, and also highlighted that. So that's just a nerdy moment. Rachel, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Okay. Um, so kind of zooming out from students, the next layer in our infographic is all about families, and particularly, again, accessibility, advocacy, and also authentic participation. I know for me as a practitioner, depending on the family that I'm working with, it's either like blind trust, or there might be some things to work through, but to be able to have more meaningful participation from families and more informed decision making, I think AI could really help.
Right, blind trust, or the reverse, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like I was told that this team is, I got to push against everything, right? And then that collaborative center point is really hard to. I feel like that ends up being a lot of my work, is trying to get families, as an outside practitioner, having worked in the schools for so long, is just like, how do we get to that collaboration point? But what you're talking about, that authentic participation piece, like, I wish we were talking about that more. Like, how do we, we're just taught to present our reports in this very kind of linear, just talk about like the linear fashion that we present things in. And that's not how a lot of people think. And we've kind of chatted about this a little bit, but like when you have neurodivergent kids, they're related to their parents most of the time. Often they are, and so parents are coming in with really similar processing differences. And so, even this visual right here just brought it home for so many people, just this idea of AI, right? Just putting things into a visual framework. And it doesn't take much. In the article, I threw up just like a thing that ChatGPT made me from Whimsical. And it's a mind map. It just took a kid's profile, and instead of a paragraph, it put it into a mind map. And just that, when I present on AI, is like a game changer for the audience of just, oh, now that makes sense to me, right? And so being able to take these things and change the format so easily for different kinds of brains in our parents is really, really key. So it's not just making the language accessible. We can write an accessible paragraph, but it's still a paragraph. And we're talking about kids with processing differences and who may be dyslexic or maybe have working memory challenges. And then we're asking their parents to come in and use all those skills that we're telling them their child is struggling with. And it's just in a stressful time. I mean, like, you can be a completely neurotypical brain and you're still there talking about the most vulnerable thing to you. And that puts all of us into a different place. And so really making things accessible and visual in that way, I think, is just such a powerful piece of AI. And Byron, you are a master at this like visual piece and like creating the images that are really, really speak and just make things so much more powerful. So I've been really inspired by what you've been doing with some of the images you come up with from the AI.
Yeah, and to me, Liz, like that's something I think is another like very practical benefit is like being able to communicate. Hey, this is what I have this vision in my brain, and to where like I can like express it. Like now, this technology can help us bring that image into fruition. There was someone on our Facebook page. I'm gonna look and see the name, but they made a comment like for like staff appreciation or something like that. uh, the staff member like Gronkowski, a football player, and then gnomes. They're like, bring these two elements together. Now, like you have this Gronkowski gnome. It's like, how? Like I'm not drawing that. But now you can actually say, like, this is something that I want to create and bring that into the world. Now, take that same example in the school setting, and now we can give illustrations, we can give visuals, we can give, you talked about whimsical, like flow charts, and explain these things to where now we're not reading this 30-page report verbatim to parents. Like, now we're creating like really cool visuals to say, hey, like, this is what this image looks like, or this is, and bringing in different things, which, I mean, the sky is the limit of what we're able to do. But Rachel, I'll throw it back over to you.
All right. So after families, our infographic leads to practical AI use for school psychologists and how we as practitioners are benefiting directly from the use of AI. And I know that Byron talks about this all of the time and our field talks about this all of the time, but we really know how big of a threat burnout is to our field, and how busy a lot of our practitioners are, especially this time of year with being so close to the end of the school year. But thinking about burnout and our shortages that we're experiencing and all the advocacy work that everyone does at the state and national level, thinking about, and I'd love to have a discussion around how we can use AI to really help prevent that burnout feeling and keeping practitioners in our public schools and move towards flourishing, to use Byron's word, in our practice. So, Dr. Liz, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many levels. I mean, one, I think just I love this graphic because it really drives home how these things build on each other. When we really get to use our creativity to help students, and connect with students about what we're learning about their brains. And then that makes it easier to connect with families because it brings it home and makes it more real. Because when students get it, then families start to get it because it's within the direct context of their child. And then that is invigorating for our work, and it keeps us connected to why we are here and why we wanted to do this work, to support students, to help families advocate for their kids in a really authentic way. And then, so I think I've seen a lot of people come back after some of the stuff that and just talking about AI or putting stuff out about AI, that people are saying things like, I'm inspired again. And so there is that piece because it alleviates a lot of this paperwork. It has the potential to alleviate a lot of the paperwork, a lot of the report writing. Rachel, you recently said that like using Sophia took your reports from 6 hours to 1 hour. That's 5 hours that you can spend with students, that you can spend with teachers doing consultation, that you can spend with families, just being there with them to help them through this process of understanding that their child might be wired differently, which is challenging, and families need support. And so I think it not only takes a lot of the grunt work off of our plate, but actually creates space for more connections and really doing the things that we love to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been incredible using AI, using Sophia for report writing. I mean, all of this school year, I've been able to incorporate, which is so cool, things that I learned from both of your presentations, last NASP. But using student
And
voice.
Rachel's brilliant at this, by the way. I've heard her stories, and it's just so inspirational.
Well, thank you for giving me the inspiration. But yes, just being able to pull students in and incorporating a lot of student voice, from Dr. McClure's session, and being able to ask those strength-based questions and using strength-based language. And then for kind of what I took away from your presentation, Liz, was how can I stop using the phrase, we're going to go play some brain games,
Yeah.
because no one's having a good time, but really talking about, here's why we're working together. We're going to figure out what your brain really enjoys doing and things that your brain could be working on next. And I'm going to share those with your teachers. I'm going to share them with your family. We're going to figure out why reading, math, whatever it is so tricky. And the amount of engagement that I'm getting from my students is incredible. And because I'm leveraging AI, I have the time to have those conversations and even do feedback sessions. So we often talk a lot about the results with families, but then the student is kind of left wondering, like, why did I just meet with Mrs. Deason? What's going on? And so being able to have those 5 extra hours, I'm doing regular feedback sessions, and I've got a high volume and a high ratio. In Missouri, we're like 1 to 4,300 school psychologists for students. And so being able to have that time has been invaluable. Families telling me, like, you heard me, you understood my kid. Like, it's super powerful. So being able to incorporate both of the things that both of your sessions, continuing to learn from both of you, it's just been a game changer. So this is my personal favorite part of our infographic, is the psychologist level, just because I've felt it in my practice, and it's just been a game changer.
Yeah, for sure. That's so inspirational to hear that you're able to, that these kind of tools are giving you the time to have that student, that one-to-one time with students for feedback. And I'm super excited for you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been awesome. I've loved it. And I know that other people are experiencing similar things with the amount of time that we're saving. And it's not just, oh, now I get to take a lunch break. It's beyond that. Like, to me, it's how can I better use the tools and flex my gen ed muscles that I don't often get to flex, or operating in a more comprehensive school psychological service delivery model. I just think that it's really going to change how we practice, and we're going to be able to do so much more.
This gets to that advocacy piece, right? And like how because districts are pushing back against AI, and how we help bring our districts, our institutions, our practices kind of into the future with all the resistance. Because a lot of the research that I'm seeing is about like how this is could be dangerous or could get in the way. And so I think this conversation is super important, because this is here and it has this incredible potential. And if we get too logged down in the fear, we're going to miss the potential for better service for our students and families, and for not just paying lip service to this idea of authentic participation or student connection, but really doing it. And so this is such an important conversation to be able to talk about at a district and institution level, that this is a really positive change, a necessary change for us to really fulfill our ethical obligations and the exciting stuff we signed up for when we signed into this life, right?
Yes. My gosh, I loved all of the things that you just said. Yeah, and so speaking of advocacy, the last part of our infographic at that district and institutional level, as we were talking about, really focuses on how we can highlight, this is going to increase our staff retention, it's going to help with burnout prevention, things like that, and standardizing our practices, analyzing complex data sets. I know that's something that administrators would love to have. And so being able to think about ways that districts can use that data that benefit us as practitioners, but also our students, our communities, and our field at large. And part of that advocacy piece is, pulling in back to our article and this handout that I'm showing. This is the infographic side of things, but this is a handout that has all of the practical AI prompts that we put together. So definitely go and grab this if you haven't already. It has tons of ideas on the practical use across these different ideas. But if you're kind of the AI pioneer, that's what I'm kind of feeling like in my district, being able to take this and have those conversations and use this to kind of ground the conversation around advocacy, making sure that we're not getting lost in the fear, like what Liz is saying, but how can we move our district towards this new way, the future of school psychology, this new way to practice, and things like that. So definitely encourage all of you to download the handout and share it and use it as an advocacy tool so that it can support all of the amazing work that you all are doing.
Rachel, where can, if they want to download this, where can people find it?
So it's embedded in the article, which lives in 2 different places. It lives on our School Psych AI website and also on Explaining Brains. And we can drop links to both of those in the comments so that people can find it as well.
Yes, and I like how Liz has structured it on her website. It's very colorful. I love the accessibility on it. So make sure you check it out on her website as well, which is awesome. Rachel.
Okay.
Thanks,
Um,
Erin.
so yeah, I mean, we're kind of at the last part of our infographic and kind of wrapping things up. Is there anything else in the comments? I'm not able to kind of see those on my end, but is there anything, Byron, that that we're missing or things we should chat about before we wrap up?
I am not seeing any questions or comments coming through. I did put the website link here. It is explainingbrains.com /practical AI. That's explainingbrains.com /practical AI. Visit that, go read it, and comment. Let us know what you think there as well. No other comments coming through. Dr. Liz, if people want to get in touch with you directly and talk more about some of the work that you're doing, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, head over to explainingbrains.com. There's a contact link in the menu there, and there are a ton of resources about AI, about talking to students, about explaining different diagnoses and profiles to kids, and a ton of resources for families that I hope are helpful. And most of them are available for free download. So please take advantage and use them at your will and leisure.
Yes, please, please, please go check it out. Run it out. Make sure that you support the awesome work that Dr. Liz is doing. As we start to bring this live at 5 to a close, because it's almost live at 5:30, and you all have things to do on a Friday. Rachel, I want you to just kind of go through some things to look out for on the school psych AI front. But Dr. Liz, one of the words that you use talking at the district level was this word fear, and alleviating some of the fear that's out there around AI. And I just wanted to put it out to people when I think about the possibilities, and I also hear this word fear. We have to acknowledge that fear is just false evidence appearing real. That's false evidence appearing real. And the best way how we can combat that fear is with knowledge and education. And so please use this resource that we have as a way to educate not just ourselves, but our families, our students, our district leaders, our decision makers about the actual practical benefits of AI. Rachel, I'm gonna throw it to you to see if there's any updates from the school psych AI front, anything that we have that you want to leave with the people, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay. For the sake of time, I will just say that there's something really exciting, a new feature that we're going to be dropping like right after this call. So you don't want to miss it out. It's going to be really, really cool. It'll be available to all users, whether you're a free user, premium, enterprise level. Everyone will have access for a limited time. So you don't want to miss it. We're going to drop it right
Limited
after this.
time. That's it. That's it. Well, that's all we got. Dr. Liz, thank you so much for collaborating
You
with us on
guys.
this. Truly a pleasure. Any parting words?
It's been a pleasure for me too. I mean, what else is there to say? This has been amazing.
Awesome. Awesome. That's it for this episode. Until next time, take care, everyone.